Ready? Back in week 1, we looked at the Sean Uncle Nil Bua Gondua, which means no pain, no gain. Week 2, we looked at Nyarda Karlakela, which means there's no strength without unity. And today, we're looking at the Sean Uncle Mullen ÓIGE August Chucky She. There it is, Mon on ÓIGE August Chucky She. So you can take that home. And here's 3 weeks. We're trying to help you learn another language as well, because we love the Irish language too. But what can we take from this? What does Mullen ÓIGE August Chucky She actually mean? If we translated it, it means praise the youth and they will flourish. Encourage the youth, celebrate the youth, and they will flourish. But today we're going to look at the youth for a moment, but we're actually going to expand that to actually, if we praise people, they will flourish. If you're encouraged and praised and lifted up, you will flourish. And as we were preparing this talk, and as you heard on church news last week, today after our service, we're going to have a fundraiser for our young people. We're going to have a bake sale for our young people. So I hope you've come hungry. I hope you've come with cash. We also have a card reader there if you'd like to help our young people. And looking at this idea, praising the youth and they will flourish, we wanted to bring a word for the youth. We wanted to encourage our young people. Anyone in Gen Z, give me a wave if you're part of Gen Z, if you're aged between like a teenager into your early 20s. Give me a wave if that is your age bracket and you are Gen Z. Well, I wanted to encourage you today. Before we get into our message, I want to encourage you. And if you're a Christ follower, you will know that we can speak to God and God can speak to us. So I ask God, give me a word, give me something that I can say that is from you, but for our young people, these people in Gen Z. And as I was thinking about a word for you, I believe that God was reminding me about the weather outside, that the weather today is like the culture that we find ourselves in. It's a bit stormy, it's a bit messy, and it's a bit uncertain. And I think the millennials and all the generations before Gen Z probably look at Gen Z and think they have it so easy. If I was in college now and I had AI, life would be simple. Like if I had to write a CV, I could just put it on ChatGPT. We all think that because they have smartphones and AI and all these advanced technologies that we didn't have, that life must be easier for them. Well, actually, I think quite the opposite. I think for Gen Z, it's probably one of the most difficult times to be a young person that we've ever faced because of the negativity, because of the pressures that's coming around them. Especially if they're a Christ follower. It is not a popular option to be a Christ follower in Ireland and to be a young person as well. So I was asking God, how can I encourage our young people? So I want to share a verse with them from Psalm 118. And it says from verse 5, it says this: "When hard pressed, I cried to the Lord, and he brought me into a spacious place. The Lord is with me, I shall not be afraid. What can mere mortals do to me? The Lord is with me, he is my helper, and I look in triumph on my enemies. It is better to take refuge in the Lord than to trust in humans. It is better to take refuge in the Lord than to trust in princes. Everyone surrounds me, but in the name of the Lord I can cut them down. They swarmed me, and they were going to consume me, but in the name of the Lord I cut them down. I was pushed back and about to fall, but the Lord helped me. The Lord is my strength and my defense. He has become my salvation." And I want to encourage you to just keep going. Even though life and culture is difficult, and how do we go through life, and how do we figure out our plans and purposes for our life? How do we be a Christ follower in all this? The encouragement from these verses are: call to the Lord and he will help. God will give you a plan. God will give you a purpose. God will give you the words to say in this time. And it's so uncertain, even everything that happened with Charlie Kirk. It's like life just seems messy. And people are searching for truth. And young people, you can be those people who stand for truth. And people can look to you as you point them towards Jesus. So I want to celebrate you, and I want to honor you for being a young person in today's society, especially if you're a Christ follower, standing up for what you believe in today. So let's hear for all our Gen Z, all our young people today as we celebrate them. As I said, we're going to have a fundraiser for our youth, specifically today, anyone in secondary school. And you know how hard it is if you've been through secondary school, how difficult it can be to be a young person. So we're going to celebrate them. We have a youth ministry every week. They meet on a Friday. And Alex and Jenno do a great job leading it with their team. So if you would love to be involved, speak to the youth leaders out there. If you've got kids, if you've got young people in your life, bring them along to youth every week. And throughout the year, we're fundraising to send them to different places. We're going on mission. We help churches all over Ireland. We go on Pulse, which is our weekly camp that we do for churches that we're a part of all over Ireland. Come together, and we have a 1 week celebration where we stay over. We have services. So we're gonna fundraise for that, just to be able to let our young people flourish in life. So if you're a part of our youth, we love you, we celebrate you. If you're not, please be a part of it. If you're out of school and a young adult, still in that Gen Z sort of age, we would love to see young adults. We have young adults connect groups. We have gatherings for our young adults. Speak to the people that are just whooping. So just find one of them who were cheering and celebrating. They'll be out in the foyer. You can ask our Next Steps team, and they can get you connected with one of our young adults groups if you're in between the ages of 18 and 30. So that is our push for our young people, but we're going to open it up. We want you to flourish, even if you're old, even if you are feeling in your bones, even if you feel youthful, wherever you find yourself on the spectrum. When we praise people, they flourish. But what you might not know is if you praise plants, they also flourish. When plants are encouraged, they flourish. So they did this study, and they had 2 plants in the same room, got the same water, got the same sunlight. Everything was the same except for the words spoken to them. So this plant was to be encouraged. So anyone that came over to the plant would say, "You're a great plant. You look really good. Well done. Like, you're beautiful." And then this plant had to be bullied. "Stupid plant. What do you know? Like, you're just useless. What are you going to do?" And then what they came to see was this is the difference in what happens to these plants. One flourishes and one withers. And the only difference to these plants were the words that were spoken to them. And this is what has been backed up with this experiment. But what you also know is that people flourish when encouraged. When you are encouraged, you flourish, because encouragement is the environment where people flourish. That when you are encouraged, you will grow and you will inspire to do more. And on the opposite side, we all know what it's like to be discouraged, to not feel like we have been encouraged. We know how it feels to have unmet expectations. We think one thing was going to go a certain way, but it went another way, and we feel discouraged. That feeling that no one noticed. I tried my hardest, I tried my best, and yet no one noticed. So I'm discouraged. And then your best wasn't good enough. You tried your hardest, you gave it your all, and yet it still didn't meet the mark, and you turn out discouraged. And the effects of discouragement are real. Like, when we are discouraged, it drains our energy. It clouds our vision. We lose our confidence, and simple things feel impossible. We've all felt this when we have been discouraged. And maybe you're discouraged today. Maybe you've come in here and someone has said something to you. Maybe you tried your best and tried to put yourself out there, but someone said something. Someone made a comment online, a sly comment, and maybe you've come today feeling discouraged. And that discouragement has led you to asking, well, what's the point? What is the point of keeping going if I'm discouraged and the world, the noise of this world is constant as well? It's not encouraging either. It's full of cancel culture. It's got rage bait, and it's endless criticism. So if I'm feeling discouraged, where can I find it? Because the world is going to cancel me. It's going to bait me with rage, and it's going to critique me. And what's the point? I'm just going to keep in this endless cycle of discouragement. And we know it to be true that the voice of culture tears down before it ever builds up. It tears us down. It gives us critique. It tells us how we can be better before it ever builds us up. And unfortunately, too often the church has been known for what we're against rather than who we're for. And I apologize if you have felt that way, that you've maybe heard of the church and before you were a Christ follower, that was your opinion. That you thought, oh, the church is against this and the church is against that, and they're not like this, they're not like that. Instead of being known as generous people, encouraging people, people who love their community. That's what we should be known for, because the church should sound different. It shouldn't sound like the world and the voices of criticism and rage bait. But the church should be welcoming. Our sound should be a welcoming sound. The church should sound different than the world is sounding. Welcoming instead of cancelling. Encouraging instead of enraged. Life-giving instead of draining. That should be our sound. Rather than the world thinking we're against them, we should be welcoming, encouraging, and life-giving. Because the church should be the one place where encouragement outweighs discouragement. And if that's not your story, I apologize that you've encountered a church that you haven't felt built up and encouraged in, but actually felt discouraged. Because as a church, we should be the most encouraging place that you visit each and every week. That you should come away full of life, full of energy, full of joy, because you've been in church. Because in a world that loves to cancel and criticize and compare, God calls his people to encourage. This is part of our makeup. It's part of our characteristics as Christ followers. We should be encouraging. So the question we're going to answer today is, how can we lift people up to flourish in a world that keeps tearing them down? So how do we do that? How do we as individuals and as a church lift people up to flourish? So we're going to look at a few verses found in Hebrews 10, verses 24 and 25. The book of Hebrews is found in the New Testament, and we're not sure who the author is. In some of the books, we see that, okay, this is written by Paul, because he'll say it, or the book's called Matthew, because we know Matthew read it, but this one, we're not sure. They have some guesses, but they know some people think, oh, it might be Paul, but it's not his style of writing. And all these smart people have tried to work it out. There's a few suggestions, but we're not too sure. But what we know is where and why it was written. It was written to a community of Jewish Christians who had converted from Judaism. So they had been part of this faith, and now they've discovered Jesus, discovered the truth, and now they're starting this new thing called Christianity and Jesus. And what does it look like to follow Jesus? And why the author wrote it was to encourage weary believers not to abandon their faith in Christ. Because they had moved from one thing to another, they were feeling backlash, they were feeling persecution. Culture and the people around them were saying, no, do it this way. But they were standing up and doing it the other way. And you know, if you try and stand up against culture, stand up against the way of doing things, well, then there will be pushback and there will be persecution. So the reason he's writing is to encourage them. Hey, keep going. You've got this. You've got a community and you can persevere. So this is what he says in these two verses. So he says, and let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching. So this is what he says. We're going to look at this in a little bit more detail and break it down and look on what he's saying and what we can take from it. So he starts by saying, let us consider. Let us consider. Let us think. Let us look around, because encouragement begins with attention. You can't encourage what you don't notice. If you're not looking around, if you're not seeing people, if you're not in your world, if you're just looking at yourself, well, then you're not looking around. You're not considering the people around you. Because encouragement doesn't start with speaking. It starts with seeing. It starts with the people around you. Who are you looking at? Who's around you that God has put in your life for you to encourage? But also, who in your life needs encouragement? Are you looking around to see, well, they're struggling, let me encourage them. Or they're going through something difficult, let's encourage them. Or I know they're going through something, let's encourage them. But if we're not looking, if we're not considering, if we're not noticing, well, then we miss out on these opportunities. We need to be on the lookout for how we can encourage each other. Look around your family. Look around your workspace. Look around your friendship group. Who in your life needs encouragement? And you are in their life to build them up and to encourage them. So look around. If you miss it, well, then maybe they'll go through life not being encouraged. You might be the only source of encouragement they have in their week. Imagine their story. That they had a dream, they had a hope, they had a plan. And the only reason they got there was because they came in contact with you. Because you kept encouraging them. You kept building them up. You kept believing in them even when they didn't believe in themselves. You have the power in your life to encourage other people to live out their extraordinary purpose. So let's be looking around who in our lives needs to be encouraged. Let's think about and consider who is around us. And then they go on. So let us consider, what are we considering to encourage them, but how to spur one another on toward love and good deeds. This idea, spur, is not a language we use in our everyday vocabulary. But the definition of this word spur is something that prompts or encourages someone or an incentive. Other words are provoke, to stimulate, or to motivate others. So to spur one another on, we could replace it with someone that prompts someone or to encourage someone, to incentivize someone, to provoke, stimulate, or motivate someone towards love and good deeds through encouragement. And this idea, spur, is also in, I just think about cowboys. Cowboys, when they're dressed up, will have their spurs. And they're on top of the horse, and they have spurs on the back of their boots. And there's a purpose for the spurs. It's not just to look cool. And you've probably seen the ones that spin. And you're thinking, what is the purpose of those? So I had to Google it because I'm not a cowboy. And it doesn't tell you in Toy Story either. But the purpose of a spur is to provide a subtle communication tool to encourage a horse to move forward and to back up the rider's natural cues. They're designed to be precise aid and not a tool for punishment. And it's such a beautiful picture of encouragement. Encouragement should help us move forward. The purpose of encouragement is to help us, to build us up, and to move us forward. But as we go on in the message, we'll explain this a bit more, but it's also to be designed to be precise and not a punishment. And I know that the rider and the horse, I'm sure there's a little bit of discomfort to the horse as a reminder of like, hey, we need to move forward. And encouragement sometimes requires discomfort. That there's a little bit of discomfort when it comes to our encouragement because we're not looking for flattery, but for fuel. Trying to fuel them to do what they're called to do, fuel them to be better, fuel them to be encouraged in what they're doing, and not just flattery. Oh, you're okay. And we don't correct them. You're perfect. And they go through life thinking they're perfect. So then they're not improving on themselves. They're not getting better at their trade. So yes, there can be a little bit of discomfort in our encouragement as well. Because we don't comfort people into complacency. We encourage them into courage. We encourage them to step up and to step into the plan for their life. We don't just comfort them and be like, everything's going to be okay. You just do you. And there's a space for that to encourage them that way, but we don't want to comfort them into complacency. Just be sitting around. You do you. You don't need to improve. You don't need to do better, but all of us can improve. All of us can get better. All of us can learn. So that's why we encourage them into courage. You can do it. I believe in you. If you put your mind to it, I believe that you have the potential to do it. So this bit of discomfort leads us not to complacency, but into courage. Because encouragement isn't always a pat on the back. It isn't just, oh, great job. You were amazing. Well done to you. But actually, it can also be a push towards purpose. It can be a reminder of a calling, and it can be a gentle confrontation to keep their faith alive. This is the beauty of being part of a church when you're a Christ follower, because you sometimes need that confrontation to be like, hey, what are you doing? Can I help you? Is life okay? Like, you know you shouldn't be doing that. And it's a gentle confrontation. It's a reminder of like, hey, this is what you're called to. Do you remember you told me that this was the plan that you had for your life? Well, I'm going to hold you to it now. And it's also a push towards purpose. We meet people all the time with potential. But if we don't push them towards that, some people just lose their way. And we've all met people who have so much potential. And unfortunately, they never live it out. But imagine they had someone in their corner, in their life, pushing them towards their purpose by encouraging them in that. So we're looking around, we're considering how to spur one another up. But what is the destination? The destination to consider and to spur one another is toward love and good deeds. We're trying to push people to love and good deeds. But to lead people towards love and good deeds, you need to be loving and doing good deeds. You can't lead someone where you're not. Can you imagine someone lying on the sofa, overweight with their takeaway out, and they're complaining to this fitness freak that he has missed a workout. He's like, hey, what are you doing? You've missed a workout. You're lazy so-and-so. And it's like they can't lead you to where they're not. So if you want to lead people towards loving and good deeds, you need to be loving. You need to be full of good deeds as well. So wherever you're trying to lead people to, you need to also be there as well. There's this saying, do as I do. Like, follow me. Like, don't, and some people try and get away with it and say, follow what I say, not what I do. And it gets all mixed up. But we need to lead people towards love and good deeds. And we know the ultimate source of love is God. It tells us in His Word, God is love. So as we are encouraging people as Christ followers, our ultimate goal is that in the encouragement, they would find God. In everything that we do, we would point people towards Jesus and all the good deeds that He has done for you. So that is our underlying principle as Christ followers. We point people to God and everything that He has done in His love and His good deeds. But on a human level, we want to point you towards love, to be more loving, to be more caring, to be more kind to the people around you, and to do good to them. This is where we are leading people. And sometimes we're better at leading people towards anger than towards love. There's this phenomenon, and I'm over 30 now, so I'm not really in the lingo anymore. I know a few things with Gen Z and being part of youth. Like I'm trying to fit in. If you ever been there, you're trying to fit in, try and pretend you know what they're trying to say. Like they say 6, 7, and you're like, I know what that means. And maybe your kids say 6, 7, and you haven't a clue what they're saying. This is a different message. We're not looking at 6, 7. But what it is there's something called rage bait, and it's either you say something or it's a video that the purpose of that is to just agitate you. And maybe you've seen an ad on your phone, and they purposely play the game badly, and you're like, I could do better. So then you download the game to prove that you can do it better. And they've made that just to agitate you, to just add you, to get angry, to get you into rage. And we're good at that. We know what to say to our family to get them annoyed. We know how to push our friends' buttons. We know how to wind up the boss at work. Like we're very good at knowing how to push people's buttons and leading them towards anger. But in these verses, we're encouraged to lead people towards love, towards good deeds. And encouragement leads people to flourish. As we encourage people, that leads them to love. As they flourish, they will be more loving, and they will be doing more good deeds. That naturally comes when people are flourishing. Because we see that encouragement is rooted in love and good deeds. When we're encouraging, we show the love that God has shown us. You are sharing the love for someone else when you're encouraging them, and it's through our good deeds as well that we build up and encourage one another. So in this first verse, we're looking around, we're considering how we can stir one another up, to spur one another towards love and good deeds. Then in the next verse it says, not giving up meeting together as some are in the habit of doing. Because some were in the habit of doing it because life was difficult. Culture was saying, well, you were this and now you're trying to be a Christ follower. Like, stop doing that. Don't do it. Culture is saying, just live your life. Just do it your own way. Do it our way. And that's why some had given up meeting together. Because in the face of persecution, in the face of hardship, they gave up meeting together. But what they're missing out on is the power of community. And we looked at this over last week's message as well, the power in unity and the power of community and the power of friendships. Because we know the faith was never meant to be lived in isolation. Some had neglected meeting together because it got too difficult. We have to meet together every week. I have to give my resource. I have to spend time. I have to think. I have to love people. Like, that's hard. And if the culture is saying do things differently, that's difficult. But as we meet together, it's simply more than just a gathering. It's not just getting together, but this is a loving community where everyone participates and uses their gifts to build up each other. That's what the church is. This isn't just gathering together. And when life gets difficult, I hope you don't fall into the trap of thinking, well, I'll figure it out by myself. I'll sit at home and I'll wait until I'm better and then I'll come back to church. But actually, you can find healing here. You can find hope here. You can find friendship here, in which we hope is a loving community where everyone participates and we build each other up. If you're here and you call Lighthouse Church and you've been coming here for a while and you're not participating, I want to let you know you're missing out. You're missing out on everything that God has for you if you're simply coming in, consuming, and leaving. This is a place where you can come and consume, yes, but we also want you to participate, because as you participate, you make us better. When you participate, God speaks to you. When you participate, you will be encouraged and built up. So if you're here and you call Lighthouse home and you're not serving or in a connect group, you're missing out. Talk to our Next Steps team. Get involved so that you would be built up and encouraged every time you're here. Because encouragement is not a side ministry. It's not a side quest. It's not something to add on. But it's oxygen for our faith. And we miss out on this sometimes because the early church understood this. Because the persecution was real. They were told not to meet. They were told you're going against this and you're this and that. And they were physically harmed as well. So they understood that they need encouraged. Because if they weren't encouraged, they would give up. If they weren't encouraged, they would neglect meeting together. If they weren't encouraged, I don't know if they could go on. But we miss out because we make life look grand. How are you? Sure, I'm grand. How was your week? Sure, it was grand. And we just tell people surface level things. Sure, it's grand. And we miss out on encouragement because we post good photos on Instagram to make sure it looks like life is together. We put on a mask so that people think that life is held together. But we're not vulnerable. And when we're not vulnerable, we miss out on the community. We miss out on the encouragement. Because vulnerability breeds community. When we're open, when we're vulnerable, when we're connected with one another, that is where community is bred. And that's what we see in these passages, that they had this strong community because they were going through the trenches together. They were going through the wars together, the difficulties together. But we miss out because we try and do it by ourselves. We try and do it in our own strength. We sit at home and heal and then come when things feel a little bit better. But life is better connected. Don't neglect meeting together and be discouraged. Don't neglect coming and getting involved and participating, because you will be built up and encouraged. Here's a picture of what community could look like. I'm not calling you a swan, don't worry. But what it is, it's a picture of community. It's a picture of the power of togetherness. That they're flying in such a formation that the wind goes with them, that the drag is less, or to put it in other terms, if you're a Formula One driver, if you're into Formula One, where one person piggybacks off the front person and they slingshot forward, if that helps you understand it, that's for you. But if not, they're flying in such a formation that they can go further, faster. And these ones at the back are squawking and cheering on the one at the front. And then when the one at the front gets tired, someone takes over. And what scientists say is that this flock can fly 70% further together than alone. 70%, nearly double the distance, because they flew together. And what an encouragement that this is what we see, that encouragement is shared strength lifted by a shared sound. They shared their abilities. They shared together in their strength, which meant they could go further. And it was a shared sound. They squawked, they cheered the person going ahead, and then they swapped round when they needed to be. And this is a picture of what church can be. We use our shared strength and our shared sound to encourage one another, to build one another up. So the passage said, don't neglect meeting together as some are in the habit of doing. And then it goes on and says, but what do? We encourage one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching. How do we encourage one another? How do we lift people up to flourish in a world that keeps tearing them down? I could simply end now and say, just go and be encouraging. But we want to break it down a little bit, give you 3 simple things on how you can make encouragement practical in your life. So the first thing you can do is be gentle in consideration. Gentle means strength under control. Consideration means a careful thought. So as you're thinking about feedback, as you're thinking about encouraging someone, you can be gentle and considerate. If you're in authority or you're a boss or you can talk to people any way you want, you have the authority to say anything. You're the boss, you're the one that pays the bills, you have that authority. But to be gentle means to take that strength and put it under control, not saying exactly what you want. And it's also being considerate and thinking carefully about the thought. So instead of running in and just saying whatever you want to say, you power down, you take that strength that you have, you make it gentle, you take it under control, and you think carefully about what you're going to say. And this may be a revelation to some people, this may be a mind-blowing fact, but you don't need to say everything that comes to your mind. Just because it comes to your mind doesn't mean that you have to say it. We can take what we think, put it under control, and be considerate and think about what we're going to say. And that's not getting rid of like harshness and getting rid of like, well, I need to be able to say it. Gentleness doesn't silence truth. We still say it, but it seasons it. Seasons it with kindness and grace and goodness. Yes, we can say whatever we want, but they'll be hurt. Our relationship will be hurt, and they'll not feel better about it. They'll not get better. All they will feel is hurt, because gentleness doesn't silence truth. It seasons it. So yes, you can say whatever you want. You're a human being with free will. But what I'd encourage you to do is be gentle and considerate when you're sharing feedback, sharing encouragement to other people. And we have a saying around here called, we give people the benefit of the doubt. Instead of going in all guns blazing, you're late because of this and you didn't do that work because of that, we give people the benefit of the doubt. That we are considerate, we think about what we're going to say, and we do it in a gentle way. Hey, did your car blow up? Is that why you were late this morning? Did your tires get blown out? Did a tree crash on the wall, like on the road? Like, we think the best of other people because we're considerate and we're gentle. If someone's late or someone didn't do work, if we want, we have the authority to say, hey, you should have done better, and you could have done this, and you could have done that. But we're gentle in our consideration, and we're kind, and we think about it, and we take that strength and put it under control. Stephen Covey says we judge others by their actions and ourselves by our intentions. People aggravate us because they do, but we do the same thing, but we think, but I was thinking of doing that, or I was thinking of, and we judge ourselves on our intentions and not our actions. So how can we be gentle in our consideration? Well, before that co-worker annoys you, or before someone texts you that rude message, or someone comments on something that you've done, pause for 10 seconds and ask, what's going on in their life that I don't know about? It's asking, what might they be going through before saying, here's what I think. Because we all want to share our opinion, we all want to share what's in our minds. But maybe to be gentle in our consideration is asking, what might they be going through? And seasoning our response with grace. And seasoning our truth with gentleness. And if you're a Christ follower, I want to encourage you that God considered us. God in all his strength and in his power could just smash us like a bug. He has the power and strength to do that. But yet, he considered us. He knew that we were going to mess up. He knew that we weren't going to be perfect. He knew that we would get in our own way sometimes, but yet he took his strength and controlled it and thought about us. So this is our motivation as Christ followers, because God considered us. If you're not a Christ follower, well, this will help you if you're a boss, if you're speaking to anyone in your world, and if you're gentle to them and you're considerate of them, it will help you, because I don't want you to be known as the person who just flies off the handle. I don't want you to be known as the person who just gets angry at any minor inconvenience. But if you're gentle with your consideration, well, people will see you in a new light. People will see you as gentle and considerate, and someone that they can actually have a conversation with and bring things to, instead of, you've all met these people where you try and tell them something and all they do is slam it back at you and jump down your throat and tell you how you're wrong. I don't want you to be that type of person. I want you to be gentle in your consideration so that you will be approachable to other people. The second thing we can do is be gracious in criticism. Because I'm sure we all have criticism. We all have things that we can all work on. And how do you give that to someone in a nice way? How do we be gracious in that criticism? Because correction is necessary for growth, but it must be wrapped in grace. I get feedback from my message. I ask people, how did I do? How did it come across? What did I miss? And in the first service, I had to change something until now. And it was wrapped in grace. It wasn't like, you did terrible. I can't believe you forgot this. I can't believe you pronounced that and did this. That wasn't how it was given to me. I wanted to grow. I wanted to preach better every time that I communicate. And it was given with grace. Hey, would you think about this? Would you think about saying it this way? Would you think about adding that in? And that has helped me communicate better, all because the correction was given in grace. But imagine it wasn't. I'll show them. I'll tell them how good I am. I don't need their opinion. Who are they to tell me how to speak or whatever? And if it wasn't given in grace, well, maybe I could have got my back up. Maybe I could have got angry. But because it's wrapped in grace, it's going to help me grow, and it's going to help our relationship grow. So I want to help you in your life because correction's necessary. People are going to have to tell you how to do things better, how to improve in life. But it always comes better when it's wrapped in grace. Because gracious criticism seeks to build the person, but not just correct the behavior. Because we know the behavior might need to be corrected, things might need to be changed, but that is not the purpose. The purpose is to make the person better. If I didn't say that one thing today, would the message have been that much worse? Probably not. But it helps build me. It helps me say things in another way. It helps me build upon the strengths that I have. So yes, we need to correct the behavior, but it's so much bigger than that. It's about building the person. Because criticism without grace crushes us. Oh, they thought my preaching was terrible. They thought it was horrible. They thought what I did was bad. They thought this and they thought that. And if it wasn't wrapped in grace, this is how we can feel. But criticism with grace corrects. It helps us. It brings us into alignment. It allows us to do what we do to a better standard. So whether it's in your job, whether it's being a friend and a family member, none of us are perfect. We will all need realigned. We will all need corrected. But it's how that is given changes everything. We can either be crushed or corrected. And there's this beautiful picture that I want to paint for you with a sculpture. And this sculpture has a sharp end, but a gentle hammer. The chisel is sharp, it's doing all the work, but it's tapped gently with this hammer, because if they went all in at it, then it would crack. So the hammer needs to be just tapped gently. So yes, the sharp edge is still there. It's still going to get broken off, but we still do it gently. It's a criticism. It's yes, you need to be made better. We can improve on this. We can live life better, but it's done gently and with grace. So before offering criticism, check your motivation. Are you trying to prove you're right? Are you trying to help them grow? What is your motivation? As we look, there's a well-known sculpture, and someone was asked, how did you get that out of the rock? And the sculptor said, well, I just chip away anything that doesn't look like what I want to build. So as Christ followers, as we are getting chipped away, we're getting chipped away of everything that doesn't represent Christ. Everything that doesn't make us healthy and strong and healthy in our lives just gets chipped away. And that's what good correction does. It chips away all the bad from our life, all the things we can improve on, but if it's done gently, it doesn't crack us, it doesn't crush us, it doesn't hurt us, but actually makes us better. And if we're a Christ follower, it makes us more like Jesus. Or if you don't care about being like Jesus, well, then it'll make you a better human being in life. And as we give that feedback, it's compliment and correct. As we're given that criticism, we compliment them. Great job. We love having you on team. You're fantastic. But hey, see that thing you did? You can maybe do it this way. You can maybe say it that way. You can maybe be on time. But we love you and we celebrate you. We give them a compliment sandwich. We compliment them and we give them the correction as well. We don't just go all guns blazing and say, do it better. Compliment them. We show them that we care. We encourage them. And we also correct them. And Christ follower, our motivation is this: that God was gracious to us. That God could have came in all guns blazing, could have condemned us, could have thrown us out, but yet he was gracious to us. Knowing that we weren't perfect, knowing we didn't know everything, knowing we were far from him, yet he was gracious to us. So as Christ followers, we are gracious to others because he was first gracious to us. That is our motivation as Christ followers, to be gracious in our criticism because he was gracious to us. The last thing is number 3, be generous in compliments. Encouragement isn't generic, it's intentional. We have to be intentional with our encouragement. I can't just throw out and say, everyone looks beautiful today, because no one's actually going to take hold of that, and no one's going to think, oh, he's talking about me. That's who he's talking about. Encouragement isn't generic, it's intentional. It takes me walking up to you and saying, hey, you look good today. You did a great job. I love having you around here. And unfortunately, encouragement can often be vague in comparison to criticism, which is normally very detailed. I could give you a lot of feedback, and it's very detailed. But when it comes to encouragement, why are we so blasé? You're a great person. I like you. You look good. Great job. Why can't we be as detailed in our encouragement as we are in our criticism? Hey, you look good because, have you done something with your hair? That jumper just makes you look good. Those shoes just make you look like you're floating like an angel. Like, whatever you want to be detailed in, how you encourage someone, let's be detailed instead of being vague. Because we are all surrounded by voices, but each of us are starving for encouragement. We all need encouragement in our lives. An anonymous and unknown person said this: encouragement is free to give, but priceless to receive. So let's be generous. Let's be giving out things that are priceless. Imagine you had a priceless artifact. You would struggle to give that away. But I want to encourage you that even though our encouragement is free, it's priceless for that other person. So it would be like giving them that heirloom. So it might not cost us much, but it would mean the world to them. So even though it's free, and again, it's the same with your time and your energy and your words, they are free, but they're priceless for those that receive them. So to help you in this, don't just think good things about people. Say them. If you've been thinking about someone, if you've seen something, don't just think about it. Aren't they great? Didn't they do a great job? Go and say it to them. Tell them what you think instead of just thinking about it. And more than that, let's make encouragement our lifestyle. Let's make it something that's just normal, that flows from us, that is part of our everyday life. Let's build a lifestyle of encouragement. Because as we are generous in our compliments, we get to bless others. We get to lift others up. And in turn, we will be encouraged as well. And as Christ followers, again, we want to be generous because God was generous to us. And if you're not a Christ follower, I want you to know today that God was generous to you. In John 3:16, it says, God so loved the world, God so loved you, that he gave. He gave, he was generous, he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him will not perish, but have everlasting life. That God is generous to you. God has given you life and life to the full. And it's on offer for you today. You can receive life. You can receive hope. You can receive this generous offer. If you just say, yeah. Just say yes to Jesus. And our host will let you know how to do that at the end, how you can take your next step. But as Christ followers, we want to reflect God in his generosity to us as we are generous in our compliments to others. I want to invite you to stand as we close our message, as we finish today, and as we consider how do we stir up, how do we create a life of encouragement? Imagine if our church, where every conversation carried encouragement. Imagine what your workplace would look like. Imagine what your community, your friends, your family, imagine what it would look like if every conversation carried encouragement. Mulla ÓIGE, August, Chucky Shee. Praise the youth, encourage people, and they will flourish. I want to see you flourish. As your pastor, I want to see your life flourishing. I don't want to see you just living day by day, struggling, falling over, and just drifting through life. I want to see you flourish. Our church wants to see you flourish. God wants you to see you flourishing, to live in life and life to the full, to experience everything God has for you. And